Welcome back, everyone. We now move ahead to our next session on technology interventions. We have with us Mr. Deepak Sawant, Managing Director, Maharashtra Natural Gas, as a session chair for the session on technology interventions. Shri Deepak Sawant has taken the charge as Managing Director on the board of Maharashtra Natural Gas Limited with effect from 6 April 2021. He has graduated in BE in Bachelor of Engineering in Mechanical Engineering from Government of Engineering College, Ujjain, having in-depth knowledge in chemical and hydrocarbon sector. Shri Deepak Sawant has rich experience of over 28 years in gas business, which includes overseas assignment in Myanmar for exploration and production of natural gas. He started his career with GAIL India Limited, a Maharatna PSU under Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas Government of India in the year 1991. During his tenure, he has been involved in various projects, including LPG recovery plant and LPG transportation pipelines. He has wide experience in city gas distribution. He was with Mahanagar Gas Limited, MGL Mumbai, from the year 1997 to 2000, which was the initial build-up on the period of the company. He started in the PNGRB, the oil and gas regulator, from 2007 and 2013, and was one of the team members for making CGD and NG pipeline regulations. He has been with GAIL Gas Limited and handling six. He has been with GAIL Gas Limited and has been handling 6 geographical areas directly, including Bengaluru, and 6 geographical areas with joint venture partners. He was also a pioneer in 9th and 10th meeting around which GAIL Gas Total, and there were 11 geographical areas which were directly covered, and 2 GA through which, So he's holding the position of director in various JV of GAIL India Limited Gas, including Haridwar Natural Gas, Goa Natural Gas, and Kerala GAIL Gas. Prior to his appointment as managing director in MNGL, he has been successfully shouldered the responsibility of full-time director as deputy managing director at MGL. The speakers for the session are Mr. Ramanathan Ramanan, Managing Director and CEO, CMC Limited, who will be speaking on the topic of promoting innovations and entrepreneurship. Mr. Thomas Persky, Director of Industry Management, Marine and Offshore Oil and Gas, Vertical Market Management, Process Industry Management and Automation, Phoenix Contact Electronics, GmbH, who will be speaking on Power to X. Mr. S. Murali, Senior Vice President, Operations and Maintenance, MGL, who will be speaking on dual fuel, and Mr. Shishir Agrawal, MD, Cng Quantum Technologies, who will be speaking on the topic of retrofitment of LNG. Now, I hand over the session to Mr. Deepak Sawant, sir. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Deepesh. Very good afternoon to all the participants and the eminent speakers, and warm welcome on this session 5 on day 2 on technological interventions, which is part of our conference on transition to sustainable low carbon economy. In last 2 days, we have got various sessions in which subject experts have given their speeches on various topics, which has not only increased our knowledge base, but also has given us a thought process on these subjects. One of the speaker I had heard in some of the session, he was telling that transition of this energy is not happening first time in the history of mankind. There has always been a transition in energy on account of either discovery of a new fuel or a better fuel efficient energy source has been found. Thus, mankind has developed energy from wood to coal to the fossil fuel, which were responsible for the rapid development of and growth in this sector. If we see the initially, even in the fossil fuel, the coal has been replaced by natural gas, which is from a high carbon content to a low carbon content. But this transition, which is now taking place, is not on account of a discovery of a new fuel or a more efficient energy source has been found, but this transition is on account of environmental concerns and for improving the quality of life of people. So this transition of energy is very much important for the mankind, and transition from a higher carbon content to a lower carbon content is also there in the fossil fuel. That is why natural gas is now taking a rapid space in the energy basket. Government of India is also focusing to increase share of natural gas in the primary energy basket from 6% to 15% by 2030, which means the natural gas is going to play a very dominant role in the coming years. In fact, natural gas will be a bridge between a very high carbon content coal to a zero carbon content renewable energy sources, starting from hydrogen to solar energy to wind energy. And we may see in future that we may have nil carbon content, no carbon footprints with the available energy sources with us. All these transition in energy are always driven by technological interventions and new innovations. Today's topic is also focused on technological interventions, and I'm pleased to announce that we have got a list of eminent speakers on these subjects. I will just name one after the other, the name of the speaker along with their topics, and then I will give introduction to each speaker before that the start of their speech. So our first topic is promoting innovation and entrepreneurship by Mr. Ramanathan Ramanan, Managing Director and CEO CMC Limited. Our second topic is Power to X by Mr. Thomas Pershke, Director of Industry Management, Marine and Offshore, Oil and Gas, Vertical Market Management, Process Industry Management and Automation, Phoenix Contact Electronics GmbH. Our third topic is Dual Fuel Innovation in Technology by Mr. S. Murli, Senior Vice President, Operation and Maintenance, Mahanagar Gas Limited. And our fourth topic is on retrofitment of LNG by Mr. Shishir Agarwal, Managing Director, Shigan Quantum Technologies Limited. So all these four topics are having a wide spectrum. So it will be better that one after the other we listen to all the speakers, and then we can take the question answer through the chat box, or people can directly put their question through this forum. So first, let me introduce Mr. Ramanan Ramanathan, such a renowned personality that even if I speak more, it will be less for him. Mr. Ramanan Ramanathan served as the first mission director of Atal Innovation Mission as the additional secretary at the Niti Aayog between May 2017 to May 2021. The Atal Innovation Mission is the national flagship initiative conceived by the Honorable Prime Minister of India to drive and create a vibrant ecosystem of innovation and entrepreneurship across the length and breadth of our nation, spanning schools, universities, public and private sector companies, NGO and research institutions. Mr. Ramanan's illustrious career in IT industry now span more than 4 decades when he joined TCS in 1981 after graduating from IIT Mumbai in electrical engineering. Ramanan has played a key role in the growth of TCS global client base over the years, serving a number of positions ranging from product development to technical marketing, business development in advanced market, to general management of major delivery centers of TCS. He took over the reins of CMC Limited as the Chief Operating Officer after CMC Limited, a leading public sector IT services organization, was divested by the government and acquired by the Tata Group in the year 2001. He was elevated to MD and CEO of CMC in 2003. In North America, under Ramanan's guidance to CMC Americas, its chairman has led to its rapid growth as a global player. Ramanan has also served on the board of Tata Business Support Services Limited as director and in the think tank of Tata Group Innovation Forum. Among multiple board positions he currently occupies, he is also the chairperson of the New Zealand Trade and Enterprise NSTE Beach Heads Advisors and has served as a member of the Indo-US Science and Technology Forum. Mr. Ramanan was conferred with the prestigious title CEO of the Year 2015 by CMO Asia in a glittering ceremony held in Singapore. He has also featured as one of the India's most valuable CEO by Business World in 2011 and 2013, assessed on the basis of consistent value imparted to its stakeholders over a period of 3 years. He was the only CEO to be featured among the top 9 most valuable CEO twice for the same title. Ramanan is a Harvard Business School alumni and a lifetime chair of Advanced Management Program of AMP 187, designed to transfer proven leaders into global executives for driving innovation and corporate performance, and has also been accredited in sustainability leadership by the Cambridge University, UK. I think this is also not completely describing Mr. Ramanathan, but the time is short. So I request Mr. Ramanathan to please give his valuable speech on promoting innovation and entrepreneurship. Mr. Ramanathan, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sawant, for the very generous introduction. Good afternoon to everybody who's logged onto the call. I hope every one of you is hale and hearty in spite of this COVID-19 difficult circumstances, and all of you are following the safeguards advocated by the government, local authorities, and by your local institutions. Indeed, we are living in unprecedented times where innovation and entrepreneurship is key to solving the problems and challenges not only our country faces, but the world faces. We are, after all, a country of 1.3 billion plus people. We have what they call as a demographic dividend, which is an envy of many a country. More than 65% of our country is under 35 years old. And we have more than 1.4 million schools. We have 10,500 engineering and related institutions, 39,000 colleges, and 150 million young students entering into the workplace over the next 5 to 10 years. It is therefore very, very important in a country of our size, with the complexities that we have, a country which has more than 715 districts, a country which has more than 650,000 villages, more than 8,000 small towns and cities, and only 8 tier 1 cities to cater to the masses right now in terms of education and employment. It's a great challenge for our country to ensure that we empower our young people with the knowledge of the latest tools and technologies which are changing the shape of the world that we are living in. Technologies like 3D printing, robotics, Internet of Things, sensor technologies, high-speed computing and communication technologies, and 5G technologies, augmented virtual reality, cloud services, web services, artificial intelligence, blockchain, quantum computing. All of these are making revolutionary changes in the world that we are living in. And more importantly, technology has become affordable, accessible, available, and advanced. So it is but fitting that we see how we can empower our young students to become the innovators and the entrepreneurs of tomorrow. And that is the topic that I would like to share a few minutes on. The importance of innovation and entrepreneurship to our nation has been reflected in the Honorable Prime Minister's vision for the country. We have, in the last 5 years, been able to jump from a position of 48, from a position of 81 to a position of 46 today in the Global Innovation Index. And Global Innovation Index implies not only innovation and entrepreneurship at a massive level across the country, but also the ability to create an ecosystem that will promote innovation, promote a culture of innovation in our young students, and create a spirit of entrepreneurship which they are able to back, the country is able to back, the industry is able to back to solve the problems of tomorrow. And therefore, very, very happy that we are having this oil and gas innovation, the Gas Tech Conference, which is deliberating on one of the most fundamental needs of human beings, and that of energy. The demands of energy are tremendous, and especially in a country like of India, where still 22% of our country is below the poverty line, where over 44% of our country is agri-economy based, and where more than 115 of our districts, of the 715 districts, are called as aspirational districts because they are at the bottom of the pyramid in terms of basic access to healthcare, education, clean drinking water, sanitation, waste management, affordable housing, livelihoods, and the quality of their lives. So how do we address this problem? We address it by creating a nationwide ecosystem of entrepreneurs. An ecosystem that enables and supports and enables the creative minds, the young energy, the youthful energy that is coursing through our country to be able to be transformed into great products, great solutions, great services that this country needs. So what the Atal Innovation Mission and many other initiatives of the government like Startup India, Innovation India, and so on and so forth, these initiatives are creating the ability for us to be innovative at a school level. So at the school level, for example, we are setting up thousands of tinkering labs called Atal Tinkering Labs. More than 10,000 tinkering labs have been set up in schools all across the country. And these tinkering labs are enabling our young children to get familiar with the latest of technologies like 3D printers, robotics, IoT, miniaturized electronics, augmented virtual reality through tinkering, through playing in an atmosphere of fun and learning and solving problems they see in and around the community we live in. Now, one of the most important requirements as we cater to the energy demand is knowledge and awareness of sustainable development goals of our nation and of the world. Climate change has become central in addressing all the challenges that is happening because we need a planet which we can preserve, this beautiful planet of ours where our students, our next generation is able to grow and flower and blossom. And therefore, integrating every innovation, whether it be in the product area, process area, service area, with and aligning it with sustainable development goals that we talk about and climate change requirements and environmental consideration that we talk about becomes very key in addressing any innovation and entrepreneurial initiative in our country. Now, we have the Atal Innovation Mission and many other initiatives. We have now created world-class incubators across the country in universities. So at the school level, the tinkering labs are fostering a problem-solving, innovative mindset in our young students. But at the university level and at the institutional level and at the research institution level, we are bringing the spirit of innovation and entrepreneurship to fruition and to reality by supporting world-class incubators. Today in India, we have more than 800 world-class incubators, according to the latest numbers from Startup India. And we have more than 55,000 startups in our country. We are fast becoming one of the fastest startup growing nations of the world. And we are also creating one of the largest ecosystems of startups in the world. We have today more than 800 incubators, as I said. In the last 3 years alone, the Atal Innovation Mission set up more than 2,250 startups, out of which 675 are women-led startups. That means 33% of the emerging startups in the Atal Innovation Mission landscape have been women-led startups. And that is very, very important as we address the entrepreneurship ecosystem in our country. How do we become inclusive and how do we ensure that gender equality as well as the ability to promote innovation in the remotest parts of the country? The third thing that we have done is we are setting up what are known as community innovation centers so that these community innovation centers will spur local innovation and local job creation. Now, when we talk of a problem like waste management and biomass or fuel or alternative energies and solar energies and renewable energies that need to come into the system in order to address our problems, we need to ensure that we look at all forms of innovation from 5 perspectives. One, how do we ensure new products that are going to be climate friendly? And how are we going to ensure that these products become affordable and accessible to the masses? Second, what are the manufacturing innovation, the process innovation, the process engineering innovation that we need to spur in our industry so that we are able to increase efficiencies, reduce costs, increase safety, and so on? Third is, how do we ensure innovation in the supply chain industry and in the transportation, logistics, management? because this is a great drainer of costs, and that as a result of which not only are there inefficiencies but rising costs of fuel, which a country like India and all the other countries in the world just cannot afford. The fourth is, how do we ensure innovation and entrepreneurship in customer service, in the B2C, in the B2B customer management, whether it is in pipeline management, the mainstream, the upstream products or the midstream products, and the midstream pipeline management that we need to have. How do we ensure customer focus and customer centric marketing in all of this? And finally, how do we leverage technology which is becoming affordable, accessible, available, and advanced? And we talk about the dark power, as many of you in the oil and gas industry are known. The dark power stands for, the D stands for the distributed ledger concept, or the blockchain concept, that is enabling integration of supply chain management and reducing costs and increasing efficiencies and building value addition. The A stands for artificial intelligence based analytical tools that would be enabling all of these processes and innovation to happen as a result of processing big data and analytics. Big data analytics has become very simple to, many tools are now available. And how do you integrate big data analytics and thereby create artificial intelligence based systems? The fact that video surveillance technologies have now matured, social media technologies have improved, and sensor technologies are being integrated into man, machine, device, soil, and space, all of this become very relevant in our AI-based technologies. And the fourth is the quantum computing, which is now becoming, is going to set the next paradigm shift in computing, whereby enabling large-scale computing and computing that is becoming affordable. And the R stands for extended reality and augmented virtual reality. So dark power technologies are driving and powering innovation and the next generation of entrepreneurs in the oil, gas, energy, and renewable energy industry. And I'm sure many of the initiatives that we are talking about today, and you're going to be hearing from my fellow speakers, will be focusing on what are the innovations, what are the entrepreneurial opportunities, what are the challenges, but more importantly, what are the transformations that we can bring through the power, vibrant power of our youth who are in our schools and universities, and more than 150 million of them are entering into the workplace over the next 5 to 10 years. So with this, I will stop, but this is the gamut of what the country is trying to do and the nation is trying to do. And there is a huge opportunity for all of us to play a role in this innovation bandwagon that is sweeping the nation.
Thank you, Mr. Ramanathan. And a lot of focus have been shown. I mean, not only innovation, but for the betterment of the mankind. That is more important. What we could gather from this. And one thing I would like to ask, that since this whole conference is on energy, so our students maybe in the schools or colleges, are these anything available to have any startup in the energy sector for these students?
Yeah, in fact, there's a lot of focus on the energy sector, and we are having partnerships, very important partnership, for example, with Coal India, with other partners in the private sector who are players in the energy spectrum. They are partnering with Atal Innovation Mission and Atal Tinkering Labs to be able to not only float challenges. For example, 2 challenges we launched, one with Indo-Australia Challenge, and the other one was with Denmark on Green Strategic Partnership. And these challenges were open to both school students as well as to the university students and startup community. And what was amazing is the number of innovations that came out. For example, solar panel IoT-based irrigation management systems by girls' schools who were from Thoothukudi. They have created based upon their interaction with farmers, and this innovation is actually being deployed in these areas. Others is robotic-based waste management and segregation, organic and inorganic waste, and in the energy management, using different forms of energy and creating. There are in fact many students who are now operating on fuel technologies, and they're learning about that. So because we have more than 5,000 mentors from the industry associated with the Atal Tinkering Labs at the school level and at the Atal incubators at the university level, we have the knowledge of industry demands and the problems, as well as potential solutions and technologies that need to go into these innovations.
Yeah, thank you, sir. And definitely with the help of artificial intelligence, machine learning, and robotics, these startups will definitely lead to many new innovations also. And for the development of the country, it will be a great help. So with this, I am now move to our second panel speaker, Mr. Thomas Pershke. I will have a little introduction about Mr. Thomas. Mr. Thomas Pershke is the Phoenix contact for more than 6 years now. He is the global industry manager, oil and gas, as well as marine and offshore based in Germany. As a lot of oil and gas companies have extended their focus to power to X, he is also focusing on this industry. Thomas Pershke is working in different management positions by process industry the last 20 years, serving customer all over the world. He has an engineering degree with a postgraduate title in business administration. Now, power to X may be a new concept in India, but in Germany, since I think it has been utilized more than many years, and basically the electricity or energy which is surplus more than the demand can be utilized in other areas. So we will like to learn many things from Thomas Pershke on this issue, and I will request Mr. Thomas to start his presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Savant, for the kind introduction, and thanks a lot for giving me the opportunity to speak here in front of this very important audience. So yes, it is, and welcome from my side also to the audience. It's a pleasure for me to present this some thoughts on the Power to X industry and the processes and how we as Phoenix Contact see them, and how an electronic solutions and component supplier can serve this very important industry. Before I start this, let me some words on the company. Phoenix Contact is a company which is almost 100 years old. It's a private-owned company, family-owned, and revenues were almost 2.5 billion euros in the last year. 18,000 employees with around about 65,000 different products. The headquarter is in Blomberg, Germany, very close to the city of Hanover. It started, as I mentioned, almost 100 years ago, founded in Essen, industrial area in the center of Germany. And during World War II, it was moved to the countryside, to Blomberg, where the headquarter was established in 1966. The whole company started with the connection technology for a German energy supplier, RWE. And in the 80s, the focus was extended towards automation. And during the 80s, also the internationalization of the company started with founding different subsidiaries in different countries all over the world. So we have three core business areas: device connectors. So here we talk more or less about connecting technology for cabling, data cable. Then we have the industrial components and electronics. Here we have our bread and butter business, like the terminal blocks, but also power supplies and over voltage protection, etc. And then the industry management and automation, where industry management groups are taking care over the whole business areas of their industries and to implement the needs of the industries into the company. New business fields, there we have startups which are implemented into the group and kept into this area before they are transferred in one of the core business areas. Also, our presence in India is worth mention. Definitely, the Indian operation started in 1992. Meanwhile, the strength of people in India are 1,000 employees. We are not only representing Phoenix Contact in India, also we have large production facilities in the country, with the biggest one in Britla in Haryana. So, and we are working with 321 channel partners to reach every customer in India. These are the facilities, center of competence on the left side, the headquarter on the right side, upper line, and the new production facilities which I mentioned before. We have now two of these halls ready in India, and there's space for extension. So serving the all-electric society is the goal of Phoenix Contact, the decade strategy, and I would not even say decade strategy, I would even call it a century strategy. You can see here two board members announcing our strategy of the all-electric society in serving our planet and of course our climate. The all-electric society is based on renewable electricity production, but it's a very volatile electricity production. No wind, there's no electricity from wind turbines. No sun, there's no electricity from solar panels. And if there are no tides, then there is no energy production out of tide hydrogen plants. So here steps in the power to X industry, and this is how we see it. We have the renewable energy production on the left side. We have industries creating CO2, and here in the middle, we are converting this into hydrogen and, of course, binding CO2s into processes. We can also produce e-fuels based on CO2 and on hydrogen. And on the other side, we have all kind of different consumers which need to be provided by the e-fuels and hydrogen. So we have the sector, these sectors, we call it production of hydrogen, methane, ammoniac and methanol and others. Then we have the distribution and storage. Most of the people in the audience are coming from the gas industry, so you can say distribution and storage, you can pretty much compare it with the midstream part of the gas industry. And on the other side, we have the consumers. This energy must be made available with the consumer. So here we see the basics, the hydrogen obviously produced out of renewable electricity, and then we can talk about green hydrogen. And if you use green hydrogen and convert it into methane, ammonia or methanol and further steps, by using renewable energies, we can also talk about green e-fuels. And these products will be the basis of the industry, the future fuel of the world. And this way we can protect the climate, and we can capture electricity when it is not needed. So we know this from the midstream sector. I don't have to talk too much about this. We talk about automation and digitalization of pipelines, tank farms, ship loading station, onshore transport. So pretty much midstream of the gas industry, and on the user side, we have to make those products available to the consumers. So the good thing is we know all those processes, even if it's new, we know it, we know the requirements, and a lot of other industries know it, because companies serving the traditional, I always call it the traditional process industry, know the power to X industry, because the requirements are pretty much the same. We talk about temperature ranges. In India, we talk about high temperatures in the ambient. In Siberia, we talk about low temperatures in the ambient. We talk about explosion-proof design. You know the story, especially as a German, you know it, the explosion of the Hindenburg in 1937, the Zeppelin. So we have to avoid this. So, but we have those requirements in the gas industry as well. So we are knowledgeable here. And even complete solutions which the industry has created for the oil and gas industry can be used here one-to-one. Tank monitoring. Of course, we don't have crude oil tanks in the power to X industry, but we have water tanks in huge facilities to produce hydrogen. Yeah? We have compressors. There will be hydrogen added to natural gas to start with, and one day it will be pure hydrogen. So if the compressor is compressing air or natural gas or hydrogen, he doesn't care actually. So, and this is an example of where the Indian colleagues created a solution for a manufacturer of compressors. This we can use one-to-one with the power to X industry. A nice example of a gas detection system and alarming and even traffic diverting system in a refinery. So you have those dangerous and hazardous gases in an ammonia plant as well. So this can be used one-to-one. Fueling system for aircraft, whether the kerosene is fossil or green, the system can be used as it is, and the knowledge is there to create the all-electric society. In an ammonia plants, we have those safety functions as well. So if you have spilled ammonia above your eyes or something, you need to have these safety showers available, and this is already there, the knowledge for it. Safety is very important. Safety issues, we have them in the oil and gas industry, but we need it also in the power to X industry. Safety means I have a certain redundancy, but the programs are also made twice by two different people. So to avoid that I have a failure and to make sure that if something needs to happen, it really happens. One typical issue is emergency shutdown. It needs to happen. So these experience we have from the traditional industry, oil and gas industry. Another example from India, the automation and digitalization of gas filling station for trucks and cars and motorcycles, or I think you got, they're called tuk-tuks, right? These little vehicles. So experience is there, and this can be taken as it is to convert the fossil-based industry into the power to X industry. Cybersecurity systems. So if the whole community is based on renewable energy and on power to X, this is definitely will be a very critical industry, and we need to make sure that this industry will be protected from cyber attacks. So we are doing this these days in refineries, chemical plants, and power plants. So experience is there, just use it as it is. Solutions created together with the partner company for pipeline monitoring and leakage detection. This will be of importance when we talk about huge hydrogen pipelines, because hydrogen is explosive. It is relatively expensive to produce, and I don't want to lose it. So I have to make sure there's no leakage in it. So, and if the leakage system is detecting or monitoring a gas pipeline or hydrogen pipeline, same thing. New open automation concepts, open source concepts based on high language high-level language programming languages as they are practiced these days in the universities, and the graduates coming from a university, they want to work with C++, C#, and these automation, digitalization concepts are ready. So we should not digitalize a new upcoming industry with an old shoe, as we say in Germany. We should use something new. So it's actually an industry. It's a Raspberry Pi on industry standard. This is what new industries and new startups are looking for. And this new PLC Next technology, we call it, is a door opener for new automation concepts, MTP, driven by the Namur in Germany. So it's implementation of modules into an overall system that could be a compressor in a hydrogen plant. So to implement it without additional implementation work, that's we can offer with this new automation system. Namur open architecture, monitoring concepts in parallel to the traditional automation pyramid. This we can do with this new PLC Next open technology. And last but not least, here open process automation. I mean, one big company in India is already involved in the open process automation group. That's Reliance, and we as Phoenix Contact, we are cooperating with them. And we are working on implementing our open automation platform for the open process automation concepts in companies like Reliance. And there are new processes which we need to learn, and we are learning it. This is electrolyzer automation. So that's new, but we are learning it. Process to create further green fuel, such as methane, methanol, ammonia. Partially we know it, but partially it's new. But we are working on it. And units to create blue hydrogen out of natural gas. Obviously, when we talk about the Middle East, they say, hey, I cannot make hydrogen out of water because we don't have water. So we make it out of natural gas, but you have to do it by capturing the CO2. And then when you make building material out of it, when you have captured it, and then you can burn it because you take it out of the ambient and you bring it back. So it's a circle. Fuel cells, that's a reverse thing from I'm converting stored hydrogen back into electricity. Fuel cells, that's relatively new. Green fuel piston engines. Yeah, I can burn natural gas, but also hydrogen in piston engines. Some new aspects to learn, and huge power to X plants, which have the same requirements than petrochemical plants, and carbon capture and storage units. That's new, but they need to be automated. We have to learn from it. And companies like Phoenix Contact have already the first references here. I'm not allowed to mention the name here. So as a supplier of small electrolyzers, even on little trailers or trucks, need to be automated. So it is done. And this is a very important process, converting the hydrogen back into electricity where it is needed in a fuel cell. It's a nice example. The whole cabinet controlling these fuel cells is created by Phoenix Contact. Most of the parts are Phoenix Contact here. And yeah, so this is a company, fuel cell producer in Korea, and the panel builder is also in Korea, and the whole Phoenix Contact product range was implemented here into that cabinet, and they are planning to deliver 350 units this year. So conclusion, last but not least, we need green energy for our planet, as the gentleman speaking before me already explained. And this is evident. We need to do something. And we as Phoenix Contact have learned from the traditional process industry, and those experience can be implemented here, but we also gained experience in the typical power to X industry processes. And if you digitalize a new industry like power to X, then you should do it with a new automation platform and a new digitalization concepts, which we are front runner with. And this is not a mistake. The logo I kept here in on purpose, so the same concepts, the same ideas we already presented to the Indian company NTPC, and we are really looking forward to working with these nice people on future projects. So thank you for your time, and thank you for giving me the opportunity for this presentation.
Thank you, Thomas, and a lot of informative session and about the new technologies which are available. And I am having some few questions. One, you have told that there is a direct capture of carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide from the atmosphere. What is the concentration required if direct capture is, I mean, what is the minimum concentration where the direct capture is possible?
It is, there are different concepts. When you take it out of the atmosphere, you can, there are manufacturers available to get, to bind the CO2 out of the atmosphere as it is. When you do carbon capture in, let's say, in cement plants or steel plants, you have to make sure that you burn pure oxygen and not too much other gases. So you shouldn't take air, you should take pure oxygen. So you have kind of pure CO2. That's the best way to capture it. But there are processes of capturing CO2 out of the atmosphere as it is. We are right now concentrating more on the electrolyzer side, but we are now studying and digging deeper into it when it comes to carbon capture and storage. So I'm working on it to give you a more detailed answer, hopefully soon. And I will give this information to my Indian colleagues, so it will be provided to you and to this audience.
Yeah, because it will be an innovative idea. So we can utilize the carbon dioxide and the carbon monoxide, which is, greenhouse gases, for better utilization. And one more question I am having. This you are told blue hydrogen to methane. So if blue hydrogen to methane, how economical it is? Because otherwise the natural gas prices we know. So producing blue methane out of blue hydrogen, how it will be cost economic?
It is, when you talk about economics, there's still some work to do. If we have to meet the prices of fossil fuels as they are on the market these days, precondition, and this will be achieved. I read in the news the other day, in several years, we will have an let's say we will have in some countries too much electricity, renewable electricity, like in Spain, for instance, I heard. I would be surprised if this wouldn't be the case in India, because you have a lot of sun, much more sun than in Germany. So economics is still something we have to work on. One good condition for the power to X industry, not only hydrogen, also methane and methanol and further steps, which I agree consume further energy. So a basis of this industry will be that we have an over offer of electricity, green electricity. And then the economic calculations, they will fly, then they will work. As it is now, I totally agree to you. We still have to work on the economics, because it is still one-to-one compare the pricing is the economics are still not as where they have to be. You know? But it must be a certain love to new technologies. For instance, I do have solar panels on my roof in my house. If I start the economics, I bought them 10 years ago. So economically, it is difficult, but let's say the love to new technologies and to implement them and to save, as you mentioned before, to save this planet for our children and children's children. This should be added to the economics.
Yeah. Thank you, Thomas. Lot of information has been given to our audience, and definitely this will help for this new concept of power to X in our Indian context. And with this, we will move on to our next speaker. Can we remove this slide? Yeah, thank you. So our next speaker is Mr. Srinivas Murli. He is a Senior Vice President, Operation and Maintenance of Mahanagar Gas Limited. With the Mahanagar Gas Limited supply natural gas to natural gas vehicles, hotels, industries, and domestic customers in the Mumbai metropolitan region. He has 36 years of experience in design and engineering, project execution, and operation and maintenance. At Mahanagar Gas Limited, he is responsible for providing leadership, management, and direction for all activities related to operating and maintaining MGL assets, safety, and with maximum uptime. He is also responsible for providing online connection to domestic customers, CNG projects, upgradation, and metering department. He is graduated from Indian Institute of Technology, BHU, Varanasi, formerly IT BHU, with a bachelor degree in mechanical engineering and has an MBA in finance. Prior to working with MGL, he has worked with Cobalt India Limited, BILT Chemical Limited, Indian Aluminum Company Limited, and Cement Corporation of India Limited. Mr. Murli, please, you can proceed with your presentation.
Thank you very much, sir. Am I audible? First question.
Yeah, it's audible, and your presentation is also visible.
Thank you so much, sir. And for the information of all, and Savan sir was my boss before he moved on to his assignment in MNGL. He was in Mahanagar Gas for quite some time. He is one of the founder persons of Mahanagar Gas. So I'll just start my presentation with a recent quote by our Honorable Minister for Road Transport and Highways, Government of India, Shri Nitin Gadkari. He has said that in the next 3 to 4 months, I will issue an order mandating all vehicle manufacturers to power vehicles with flexible engines. And flexible engine means those which can run on more than one fuel. So the guidelines for these flexible fuel vehicles, which are known as FFVs, will come in the third quarter of this year. So keeping this in view, I thought that it is best that, how we can have a diesel CNG dual fuel system for the vehicles. Particularly, we have an issue with the transporters in this country who operate long haul. The tonnage of vehicle is around 38 to 50 tons. So here, they don't want to convert their diesel engines to, a spark ignition engine, which is required for burning the CNG fuel. So they are more comfortable having a diesel CNG dual fuel system. So I'll just briefly tell you about the system and its cost economics and how effective and efficient the systems are. Now, for the information of all, Mahanagar Gas is a leading gas distribution company, started in 1995. And right now, 74% of our gas supply goes to CNG. We have almost 7 lakh vehicles, 280 stations supplying CNG. But most of our CNG goes to the auto rickshaws and the taxis, with a sizable chunk of four-wheelers in the private car segment. But then we have very few vehicles, excepting the state transport companies. We don't have these transporters who operate long hauls starting from upwards of 38 tons HCVs. So the idea of this presentation is to to inform all the people who are listening that this technology is available and people should try and make use of this. So this is the first slide. It's a very smart and turnkey solution to upgrade your aged, heavy, light-duty commercial vehicles to dual fuel. This is the business idea. Most of these now BS6 becoming mandatory and stuff. So it is more than essential that these old diesel vehicles can be converted into dual fuel technology. Now this year you can upgrade your old pollutant diesel vehicle to cost saving and more environmental friendly fuels by the dual fuel technology. So the first advantage is the cost advantage in terms of fuel consumption and reduction in CO2 and reduction of particulate emissions and extension of vehicle. And all these three can be, advantages can happen. Now you can see the photograph of in the second you can find the cylinders which are behind the horse. So those are all natural gas cylinders. So you can have depending upon your requirement, whether you want to not to invest a lot of money, then you can go for a type 1 cylinder. Otherwise you can go for a type 4 cylinder also. So type 4 cylinder is a bit more expensive than a type 1 cylinder, but then the vehicle tonnage, the vehicle load carrying capacity by putting a type 1 cylinder will reduce by a few tons. But if you're using a type 4, then the load carrying capacity does not reduce. So these are the technologies available. Dual fuel, diesel LPG is available, diesel CNG is available, but with LPG being expensive, we may not prefer to use it. On the monofuel, LPG, CNG is available. On the bifuel, gasoline or LPG or gasoline or CNG. So these are the technologies which are available. Now the diesel fuel. Now in a car, particularly if you're having an old diesel car, a 4-wheeler, a sedan. So the cylinders at the back, like any normal CNG cylinder. So there is a gas ECU, and you have these injection rails which are injecting this diesel fuel, because diesel is injected by an atomizer. The atomizer will result in spraying the diesel fuel into the engine. So the diesel piston particularly has a combustion chamber, which is inside the piston. So you have to introduce the gas as well as the diesel. So the combustion will happen then. But the method is, okay, there is a pressure regulator also. The gas is introduced into the engine at atmospheric pressure. The system is that during startup, when your vehicle is perhaps accelerating, that time more of diesel is used. I guess 100% diesel is used. And once it reaches in a cruising position, then mostly it is the natural gas which is consumed and very little of diesel is used. So this is done by an electronic system which is tuned to your vehicle. It's very similar to a standard bifuel, CNG retrofit conversion kit. I suppose if you're using a petrol vehicle, then it is very similar to that. Only the technology is that in a spark ignition engine, it is easy to introduce CNG because there is a spark. But a compression ignition engine, which is a diesel engine, there the ignition happens because of the compression. So there you just can't introduce CNG. So you will have to see that the temperature is reached before introducing CNG. And the principle is it permits to exploit the advantage of CNG to diesel engines, and it is not very strictly conditioned by an availability of adequate network filling stations. So because if a vehicle is moving, for instance, say from Mumbai to Cochin, perhaps, so if there are no fueling stations in Cochin, still the vehicle can run on diesel. So it doesn't need if the natural gas gets over by the time it reaches Cochin, and if the chap is not able to get fueling positions in Cochin, then he can come back on using diesel. So it's a mix with airflow. So diesel injection is reduced in quantity and ignites them as a mixture of air and natural gas in the combustion chamber. So like I told, because it is not the automized diesel the yellow arrow which you find, that is the atomizer which atomizes the diesel into the combustion chamber. The natural gas is introduced into the air chamber. So the system is that the CNG and diesel oil, initially it is more of diesel, and then later on it is only natural gas. Now it is a diesel mode or a dual fuel mode, CNG but diesel mixing, as I told you. Now diesel operating point is reduction of injected diesel fuel, addition of CNG. You can see there. Also dual fuel operating point, you get the same performance. There is a reduction in emission, there is a CO2 reduction, there is a fuel economy. So the additional CNG must be compensated by reduction in the injected diesel fuel. Now if you see the preferred approach, the speed and the torque if you find. So the engine operating point, which is the ECU, and the new engine operating point when you are introducing the diesel. So you will not find a lot of difference. So all actuator targets are given as a function of the operating point, the speed and the torque. The ECU operating point is not changed. So at all point in time, the ECU operating point remains the same. The reduction in the diesel fuel is compensated by the CNG fuel. So all actuator targets are given as a function of speed and torque. Now, typical layout, how the mechanical system works. So as I told you, you have the CNG injectors, you have a CNG filter, a CNG regulator. So the first of the CNG tank, there's a pressure regulation. After the pressure regulation, it goes to a filter, which is normally there in a normal CNG operated spark ignition vehicle also. And then we have this, the CNG injectors, and then the other side you can see the DDF ECU. So this ECU is the heart of the whole thing. This is what is required to be tuned properly so that the adequate mixture of diesel and air plus CNG goes into the engine. And again, so this is the electronic diesel ECU is there. So the DDF ECU, there is the diesel ECU, the diesel injection happening. Now DDF system, they blend with diesel with methane, which is having a lower operating cost, less polluting emissions. The system is sophisticated, special electronics blend the fuel giving the preference of use of methane, we told you already. The minimum amount of diesel is required to guarantee the vehicle's original performance, drivability, and lifespan. Use of minimum amount of diesel is necessary. The DDF unit, which is there, which I showed you earlier in those DDF ECU, it calculates and adjusts the injection of methane and diesel in real time, guaranteeing balanced optimal combustion at all times. Now the diesel fuel characteristics, engines emission. I'll come to in the next couple of slides. There's a CO2 reduction, there's a PM reduction, there's a noise reduction also. Like what you find in those the diesel engines, particularly those HCVs which operate, so there's a lot of noise. So that gets reduced, a lot of vibration that gets reduced. And you can use, for instance, you can use a type 1 or type 3 or type 4 cylinder to store CNG, and it is fully reversible. The regulations, there's a working group in Europe on dual fuel for several years. The dual fuel OEM systems has been officially introduced from Euro 6. The dual fuel retrofitted systems regulation is under discussion from the emission point of view. Diesel fuel is classified as a compression engine except for MSC, which are compared to an SI gas. In USA, again, this is also dual fuel retrofit is recognized. From an emission point of view, usually dual fuel is less, so this is classified into diesel engines if the usage of diesel fuel is greater than 5%. Okay, so after 2007 EPA, they don't measure MSC, they only NMSC is considered for SC emissions. In other regions, in India, we don't have a regulation as yet. I think it will happen by the year end. So it allows the dual fuel conversions. In India, also dual fuel is allowed, but there is no regulation as of now. And most of the countries, they follow European or US regulations. Now this is a selection, there are a number of vehicles. So from Euro 4 vehicles, you can introduce, have this dual fuel. So the emissions would be more or less at Euro 6, I think. But then once we get a type approval, then we will know whether they are saying it's still a type 4 or it can graduate to type 6. So these are the various vehicles, which can be converted currently, which are in Euro 4. So there is no problems whether it is a Euro 2 or a Euro 4 to having this dual fuel. There's absolutely no problem. And the older vehicles, it is much better if we have this system of CNG addition. The dual fuel is got a very high potential for future powertrains. Dual fuel, and it will allow to develop flexible vehicles with reduced CO2 emissions. Now we need to develop a roadmap. I guess integration with OEM engine management systems and the other things which are required. So at the OEM level also it can happen, in my opinion. So the system can be added as a slave on existing diesel engines, or same performance as the original engine in terms of torque, power, and range. The emission limits for original engines wherever required. Maximum flexibility in order to be easily adaptable for different diesel engines. So the kit again, can be used for a variety of engines. It is not a specific kit can be attached to one type of engine. So kits are more or less, just since they are simply introducing CNG into the air chamber. So there is not a big requirement of different kits for different types of engine. And switch back to original diesel fuel. Suppose there's a transporter, his vehicle is say 12 or 30 years, he want to sell his vehicle, he remove the kit and the cylinder, and then he can use it in this next vehicle which is going to purchase. And there's a less CNG storage requirement compared to a dedicated CNG vehicle because it's a dual fuel, obviously. And there is an extended mileage compared to original diesel system. So PM10 reduction up to 30% as compared to diesel. Smoke and opacity reduction up to 50%. CO2 emission reduction up to 14%. Noise emission reduction up to 40%. So at the same level for a gasoline engine, we CO2 level of 100 grams per kilometer. So gasoline, LPG, and CNG. So an auto cycle and a diesel cycle. So a DDF, if you find 73 grams per kilometer. So this is against a CNG for an auto cycle, you will find 80 grams per kilometer. For a DDF, you will find it to be 73 grams per kilometer. It means that it will be a better performing engine. DDF is going to be a viable, reliable technology for CNG on obsolete and current powertrain. So obsolete also there is no problem. If the vehicle is old also you can use it. There's no problem. So it's a viable technology. It's a reliable technology. Now engine tests, it's been done. In India, we are yet to do an engine test. We are in the process of getting the kits and then getting the type of approval, which we will be doing in a couple of months' time. But in abroad, particularly in Italy, this has been done, and the entire complete mapping of the engine behavior in diesel mode and dual fuel mode has been done. Each operating point they have analyzed, and which is a function of all control levers and all relevant combustion parameters, combustion stability, emissions, temperatures, every information is available. And this is how it is. It's suitable for light, medium, and heavy duty vehicles. So again, you want a 12-volt vehicle or 24-volt vehicle, capacity 3,500 and over 8,000. So 4 cylinders, 6 cylinders, 8 cylinders. So depending upon the kit, which it will cost you, as of today, if you import this kit, for a 4-cylinder, it will cost you around 1.5 lakhs, and for a 6 to 8 cylinder, it will cost you in Indian money around 2 lakh rupees. The cost of the kit is not very high, but the cost of the cylinders, depending upon whether you want to use a type 1 or a type 4 or a type 3 cylinder, that will increase the cost. So and also how many cylinders you want to put behind your horse. That is another important thing. Whether you want to store say 200 kgs or when you want to store 250 kgs, that would be a function that will be, increase the cost. So we want to use a type 4 or a type 1, that will determine the cost of the total conversion of the vehicle into dual fuel. Now, these are the weights, and the diesel replacement, as I told you, in an LCV it is 50%, in a medium commercial vehicle around 45%, on a heavy commercial vehicle also it is around 45%. So you have today diesel is selling at 105 rupees a liter, and the CNG is selling around between 50 and 56 to 60 rupees. So you will 1 kg of CNG will give you around 3.5 kilometers against 1 liter of diesel, which will give 2.5 kilometers. There's an additional 1 kilometer difference, and also there's a cost difference of around 45 rupees between this diesel and CNG. So, in my opinion, the cost of the total conversion would be paid back. A simple payback would be working to be almost a year. For a vehicle, say 55 ton vehicle or 45 ton, gross vehicle weight vehicle, which runs around whatever 4 to 5,000 to 5,000, 6,000 kilometers per month. So, as I told you earlier, diesel fuel reduction greater than 40%, economic saving is around greater than 50%. But these are all Italy. These trials have been done in Italy. India will have to do it. So way forward, what Mahanagar Gas intends to do is we're doing a pilot project. So the cascade vehicles, which that has already been done to CNG. What we are looking at a 38 to 50 ton vehicle, which have already identified. One bus we have identified. So we are going to first start with 6 vehicles, both Tata and Leyland vehicles, and 1 bus. So 5 vehicles we have marked, and we will be getting the type approval. We identified the transporters, and we'll be I guess in another 3 months time we will have the vehicle up and running. Probably be moving from Mumbai to Gujarat and back. That is the plan. So that's it. So thank you. I am ready for any questions if there are.
Thank you, Mr. Murli. Very relevant topic, considering that the diesel prices are going very high, and this natural gas will help in improving the environmental conditions also. So this is the requirement of the day of having such innovation as well as the introduction of such technology into our currently running vehicles. The one question I just wanted to ask, that in this conversion, you need not to do anything with the head of the engine. Means the diesel engine head need not to be touched upon. We can do only through the air pipe.
Sir, there is no, the engine will not be touched at all.
Yeah.
So no opening of any engine part. The whole introduction of the natural gas will be done in the air chamber only. So most of the vehicles have a turbocharger. So after the turbocharger, we will introduce the natural gas.
Now for this running, a definite air fuel mixture is required. So your diesel and natural gas quantities are varying continuously. So this air fuel mixture requirement will also vary. So I think your electronic processor will look into it and control the airflow.
Correct, sir. So everything will be done by the electronic processor only. So the DDF ECU is the heart of the entire thing. The other things are similar to a normal CNG vehicle. So it will have the same kind of regulator, reducing the pressure from 250 bar to the atmospheric pressure and all that. The heart of the whole DDF is the ECU. That will only determine how well the engine will operate in terms of its torque.
Yeah, and that will control the air quantity also.
Control the air quantity, everything it will control.
Okay. Now, what is the actually reactions of these OEMs? I mean, Tata or Ashok Leyland, how keen they are in this technology?
Sir, currently what Mahanagar Gas is intending to do is to put these on the older vehicles, which the transporters are having. The OEMs, as per what the minister has said, that there will be some guidelines issued to the OEMs for the dual fuel vehicle. Now, whether they are looking at CNG or they are looking at methanol, we don't know. But the government is very keen to get a dual fuel on board, primarily because the cost of the fuel is very high. So, in my opinion, it can be ethanol. Or if ethanol is not readily available, the OEMs will have to look at these kits because these are abundantly available and extensively used in Italy, sir.
Yeah, that is true. But these automobile manufacturers are also under tremendous pressure because of the EV, then hydrogen blending, then LNG vehicles, and then this dual fuel. So, which line of production they will give how much? Money they can put on each line is definitely a challenging time for them. But this will definitely help because it seems that the cost is not too much, so it can be adopted very smoothly by the users.
That's right, sir. That is right.
Yeah.
So,
So thank you very much, Mr. Murli. And now we will come to the fourth topic of the day, and which is on the retrofitment of LNG. By Mr. Shishir Agrawal, Managing Director, Shigan Quantum Technology. I will have an introduction of Mr. Shishir Agrawal. Mr. Shishir Agrawal is the second generation entrepreneur coming from a successful business family. He is a professionally qualified chartered accountant, creating his own success by being passionate about green technologies and promoting green field ventures in alternate fuel systems and clean and green mobility in his overall in technologies and promoting greenfield ventures. His overall experience is spanning in 3 decades. He, along with his brother, Mr. Gagan Agrawal, created Shigan Group in 2006, and the group has been recognized as a pioneering force in environmental friendly technologies under his dynamic leadership. At Shigan, he drives the business and financial strategies. He has been recognized as an expert in alternative fuel technology and has been listed among a few experts in India in this field. He also attended several rule-making committees of the government. He is actively involved in various industry associations and positively contributes to the growth and the bona fide needs of the forum and the customer. So this is an introduction of Mr. Shishir Agrawal. So I request Mr. Shishir Agrawal to please proceed with his presentation.
Thank you, Session Chair, Mr. Sawant, and distinguished colleagues on this panel. I would also welcome all the audience who are sparing the time to listen to us. This issue of different fuels being used is emerging, and CNG has been in use for different applications like three-wheeler cars, and also for LCVs now in a big way for almost like more than 2 decades. Now with the growing need of range, in terms of commercial vehicles and buses, LNG is also being looked into as a possible solution for usage as a fuel. Not only there are advantages of lower emissions, in terms of liquid fuels like gasoline and diesel, but also the economics are in favor of this fuel. So early adoption of the fuel can bring down the costs for the operators, and also it will help the environment. The effort, like what Mr. Samant also mentioned, we have to make our Mother Earth in terms of energy usage as sustainable for long term. For our future generations, we have to evolve technologies which will be sustainable both in terms of economies, but more so in terms of sustainability of environment. So with this presentation, what I will try to cover is briefly about our company, and then the advantages and about LNG fuel, and then briefly I will also take you through the process of retrofitment, which we in terms of going through the process of retrofitment, that also I'll introduce during my presentation. So Shigan is an automotive tier 1 company currently supplying to all the OEM manufacturers of CNG systems in their buses and trucks for last 2 decades. So all CNG systems, what you currently see on heavy duty segment, primarily we have been a part of that journey in last two and a half decades. Evolving technology and localizing them, bringing the latest technology to India. So, we have in terms of our products, both LNG and CNG systems, and then we produce parts in-house, including Diesel Fuel, which was discussed by Mr. Murli, for different applications. So we have more than 100,000 vehicles which are there on the road currently serving with CNG fuel as the prime usage. Currently our annual consumption or annual demand is in excess of 30,000 systems per annum, and our esteemed customers are Tata, Greaves, then Cummins.
Yeah, Mr. Agarwal, your voice is.
Yeah, I'm just. Okay. There's some issue on my connection. I will try.
Okay, now we are able to listen.
Yeah, so there was some issue with the connection probably. So talking about LNG fuel, LNG as an alternate fuel is commonly referred as green fuel because of lower content of lead and sulfur. It is non-corrosive. Operational cost, like I said, is lower. NGV engines produce less of CO2 than any other fuel like gasoline. It is high density fuel. It can give higher range. It is in terms of economics for the customer, and it is a very safe fuel. The ignition temperatures are high, and the range also is very narrow. So it does not ignite on, it is a very narrow band within which it ignites. Retrofitment options we have currently are for automotive, locomotives, marine, and mining and off-highway. Regulatory, just allow me to. So regulatory requirement to convert in-use diesel, to LNG. Today we have to go for a type approval under rule of CMVR 115B, where in-use diesel vehicles are modified to spark ignited and then can be used for CNG or LNG. And then once the approval has been taken, one has to approach each state to show conversion and get state approvals. State approvals are done, TAC has been model wise. So if a manufacturer is doing 2 engines, then a different approval has to be taken for all different engines, and a variant can be taken for different variants of their different engine types of being used by the OEMs. Then all BS2, BS3, BS4 vehicles which would need conversion would have to minimum adhere to BS4 norms as per our current norms for aftermarket type approval. And for BS6, currently the regulations have not been announced. So only OEMs are supplying BS6. So any conversion for BS6 vehicles is right now under discussion at the ministry level for specifying the norms. The LNG tank has to be approved by PESO. All the safety norms are regulated under PESO. And approval of the retrofitment center, which carries out the conversion, also has to be taken. So these are the regulatory requirements to carry out any retrofitment. So going about, talking about the retrofitment process, the technical aspects There are 4, we will talk about the project initiation, technical feasibility check before any retrofitment, the engine modification, and fabrication and installation of the engine management systems, fuel lines, storage tanks on the engine and vehicle side, and then customer orientation, how to use the fuel efficiently. So talking about project initiation, any possible candidate for conversion, one has to look at their usage, what currently the equipment is in the amount of fuel it uses, or the number of kilometer it is currently clocking. That helps to find out the feasibility of a conversion. The site at which it operates, that also is taken into consideration. Then decision on LNG onboard storage location and the capacity which is required to adhere or meet the customer's requirement has to be seen. And then identification of tank peripherals and fuel system is then laid out, including bill of material and the conversion. So engine modifications which are required, retrofitment, it can be done either on dual fuel or on monofuel. Monofuel both for the LNG and CNG through spark ignited, and with dual fuel generally diesel issue acts as the main issue, and a secondary issue or a slave issue is used to govern the dual fuel conversion. So while we do a spark ignited conversion, generally there are 2 options which we prophesize. One is buying a new long block altogether and convert the engine from spark ignited from compression engine to spark ignited, so that we get an optimum life of the conversion through the vehicle. The second, as a lower cost option, one can opt a recon engine done by the OEMs, where the reliability and warranties are still maintained and given to the customers. These 2 are the main recommended conversion methods which we currently follow. The process of going through the conversion is removing the diesel parts from the engine, and then upgrading radiator and changing the turbocharger, also upgrading the CATCON sensor. It's a 3-way CAT one has to add to the system. The fuel system, which we do the entire LNG conversion, consists of the ECU, the electronic throttle bodies, the gas injector rails with injectors, pressure regulators, tank with fuel line, filters, and safety equipment. Sensors also, we can use existing sensors of the diesel vehicle, but in some BS2, BS3 applications, the sensors are not there. And we have to introduce these sensors to actually control the operation of the vehicle. Retrofitment, then third process is fabrication installation of the EMS and fuel lines. So we use the different parts, including changing the take manifold, introducing the throttle body, putting up all the sensors, putting the ignition system, including coils and boots for that, introducing fuel rail with injectors, ECU, dedicated ECU for spark ignited dedicated LNG system, introducing the tank, LNG tank, and complete that installation after that. For fuel tank installation, for the fuel side, then LNG tank, and for LNG we would need a heat exchanger, then LNG solenoid, which is automatic shut off required as per the AIS 024 and 28 of the current CMVR. Then LNG filter is required, regulator is required to regulate the pressure. LNG filling valve would be required, quick discharge valve would be required, vent connections are required as per the statutory requirements. So after conversion, the process of handing over to the customer happens, but the real work while the vehicles are deployed, that we extend all of the requirements, including maintenance and EMC support, the manual for do's and don'ts for the drivers and the service mechanics, supply of additional parts to reduce downtime, training and required for the workshop mechanics and other things. We also, based on the need and of safety requirements of the customer, we can also fit the fire detection and automatic suppression while we complete the LNG retrofitment. This, at Cng, we have a team of professionals who have been thoroughly trained worldwide for last more than 2 decades, doing conversion on different segments. The current projects which we have undertaken in India, we have already converted 4 of these DPCs, diesel powered generator sets in these demo application, which is on a short haul, which railway uses. So currently 4 DP have been converted on dual fuel conversion. Our experience has shown that the current system on open loop, generally we are able to get 20% to 25% substitution. And then now we are also undertaking 20 more conversions, 10 to LNG and 10 to CNG, where we are trying to improve upon the entire control systems and trying to get the substitution up to 40% of diesel in these Indian Railway engines. Our partner, who's a supplier of our dual fuel kits, have a vast experience of doing large applications, dump trucks in mining industries throughout the world. 2 projects which recently have been completed, 30 dump trucks into LNG dual fuel, also engine in Indonesia. We have several OEM projects which we are undertaking, and there are also few of the applications are already being tested at different corners of India. LNG buses by Tata Motors in Kochi and Dahej, they are on road. Then Tata Motors has also done a truck, which once the infrastructure is in place, they will start marketing these trucks and start producing on a regular basis. Then Eicher also has done a prototype on a regular basis. Then Eicher also has done a prototype LNG truck. Ashok Leyland currently are doing both us and a truck on LNG, which we are involved in doing their conversion. Mahindra has a project which they had initiated, and that is under development. So several OEMs are trying out introduction of LNG trucks and buses. So what we feel, as an interim solution to having a full-scale OEM programs, making trucks very regularly, LNG trucks regularly, that we start retrofitment of existing fleet, not very old, I would say, but all of these BS4 and some of the last of the BS3, vintage vehicles can be taken up for conversions to either dedicated LNG. We do recommend dedicated LNG for a lighter weight, and for very heavy duty dump trucks, mining trucks, generally dual fuel LNG is what we generally propose to our customers. Thank you. We are at Cng, we are committed to cleaner tomorrow through innovation.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Agarwal. This is the need of the hour because Government of India is putting around 1,000 LNG stations across Indian highways. and availability of LNG run vehicle is now the the bottleneck is that only. So with these efforts which you are putting, I think a lot of LNG, the retrofitment of existing vehicles into LNG will be done. Apart from the OEM, which they are manufacturing new LNG vehicles. Now, I just have one question on it, that these LNG tanks which you are using, are you importing it or you are manufacturing your own?
Currently, there are a couple of manufacturers in India who manufacture, but there are one or two manufacturers who are worldwide very reputed manufacturers, and they would, once they see demand, they would also plan to set up manufacturing units in India. But currently, we have both options, imported as well as Indian manufacturer who produces the tank. There are some components out of the entire system which even during procurement from an Indian manufacturer, we find that they are imported. So we at Cng are now undertaking different component level, apart from the cryogenic tank, at component level, we are trying to partner with several technology companies, including companies in Europe, to localize them in India and make it available in large quantities and at a very competitive cost.
Yeah, because sooner these all components will be short because of the demand which we see in future. We have already seen in case of type 1 CNG cylinder that availability of type 1 CNG cylinder is becoming a problem, because the conversion rate which CNG is being used, and even companies like Maruti who are lifting all the type 1 cylinder which are being manufactured directly. So for retrofitment, there is a scarcity of type 1 cylinder. So I think in case of...
You are correct on that, sir.
Yeah.
Currently, not only on cylinders, but also on the engine management system, there is a large shortage of semiconductors all throughout. So we are facing, a lot of shortages even for our OEM systems, which we supply currently to the mainline OEMs like Tata Motors, Volvo, Eicher. Their demand for CNG systems has really rapidly increased, and the industry has now to step up and make investments to build up the capacity. So we are doing that, but few of the things are in our control, but the semiconductor shortage is a big dampener. So that is something which we will have to endure, because it seems that it will take Q2 of 23 for things to normalize in semiconductor industry. So next 1.5 years we see a rough ride in terms of availability of electronics, which and from our suppliers, worldwide suppliers. So that area is something which needs to be addressed, and also capacity building for CNG and LNG is also required. So currently CNG, we did have many plants, but there also now they are falling short of the capacity required. So they will have to actually start investing for more capacities. And LNG now is looking a reality. So one Indian supplier is already there, but he's overloaded with a lot of fuel, stations orders and all. So there again, many people have to start investing, believing that this business is for real. So yes, your point is well taken, sir. From our side, for engine management systems and mechanical components, we have almost doubled capacities in last 12 months.
Thank you, Mr. Shishir Agarwal. And now I will request all our speakers, if they have got any question to any other speaker, they can please call on.
I have a question, especially from the industry point of view. how do you, I mean, what are currently the interactions you're having with the universities and with the university students to build awareness of some of the challenges that we have? I mean, Dr. Shishir Agarwal, as well as all the other speakers, brought out beautifully, technology related solutions that you're developing. But how do we make sure that we promote more innovation and entrepreneurship in this area? I would like any suggestions or comments on that.
Yeah, Mr. Shishir Agarwal, can you throw some light on it?
Yeah. In terms of technology adoption, what Mr. Ramanan said, and taking advantage of the demographic dividend, we hire a lot of fresh engineers from all these NIITs, and also for short training and other things, lot of students from colleges for their internship. So approximately, if you visit our facility, you would see young engineers who are distributed across different functions, almost 40 or 50 of them on shop floors and at our different functions, getting this training, so that they become tomorrow brand ambassadors and help us in early adoption. So yes, new blood would bring in a lot of energy for adoption of these new innovative technology.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Shishir. So I'm really thankful to Mr. Ramanathan, Mr. Thomas, Mr. Murli, and Mr. Agarwal. Now I'll ask our host Deepesh that if he has got any questions or anything to be done in this regard.
As of now, we don't have any questions from the attendees. So I suppose we can wind up the session if there's nothing else, just nothing else to add on. But if still the panelists wants to address some aspect or they want to discuss ahead, we have a couple of minutes left.
So if you don't mind, I'll make a few comments. I see a lot of awareness of many of the technologies. I see an awareness of many domains in financial sector, educational sector, communication tech sector, and so on. I do feel the universities and the students would get more excited with greater participation with the energy industry in all forms. And some of the ways that I feel it can happen is sponsoring of innovation challenges in all the areas that you talked about, whether it is supply chain management or leveraging artificial intelligence or analytical tools to the incubators and startups. There is a mechanism for doing that. For example, Atal Innovation Mission launches regularly what are known as New India Challenges and Arise Challenge, Applied Research and Innovation for Small Enterprises. So I think leveraging that, and Startup India also launches a lot of challenges. Building an excitement and awareness about the various possibilities of innovation would be very useful. And I think here industry can play a very big role in throwing those challenges to the youngsters. Secondly, I also think, at a school level, there is a lot of, students are learning about chemistry, physics, biochemistry, and so on. But if there are do-it-yourself kits, which bring out the aspect of energy management, carbon footprint reducing technologies, and so on. And if some of the universities, research institutions, or the oil and gas companies are already having it for training their people, I think that can get integrated into the tinkering labs and so on, so that knowledge of those technologies and having hands-on experience of dealing with them will be very useful. So there are two comments I just wanted to add.
Yeah, thank you. Well taken, all these points, and everybody will definitely look into it. And I think with this, we can close this session. So I'm giving thanks to all the speakers, all the participants, who have been given their valuable time to participate in this event. And I'm also thankful to the host who has organized such a wonderful session where this knowledge sharing was possible. So thank you everybody in this regard.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Deepak ji, for wonderful moderation and provoking all of us with your thought-provoking questions.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, and distinguished speakers for sparing their time and sharing their expertise. Insightful, informing session. Apparently, this brings us to an end for the Gas World Tech IE 2021 conferences, but we still have several interesting talks lined up tomorrow on refinery, petrochemicals, and power domain. We look forward to meet you again tomorrow. Have a good evening.
Thank you.